Now that we have our business card basically selected, in other words, the design we're working with, I want to go through a little bit so that you're familiar with what these editing tools do. And of course, we could spend a whole bunch of hours going through what each one of the tools make, but I'm just going to cover the basic things that you're going to need to know in order to do your business card. By the way, all of this stuff that we're going to be doing, you're going to see these tools available not only in Microsoft Publisher, but you're going to see them in PowerPoint, you're going to see them in Microsoft Word. So the same concept tools are utilized. Just so you know, these menu items that are right here, these are just menu items, so as we select on them and we change them, you'll notice that this changes right here. This is called a ribbon. And the term, Microsoft made a big change in Office 2007 where they went from just a normal old type menu system that you would see to what we commonly refer to as this ribbon concept. So for new people that are have not been familiar with how the old Microsoft menu system worked, this seems to work for them a lot better. For people that have been using the product for a bunch of years like I have, had found myself, and even to this day, going on and looking for help and say, well, how do I change the spacing between lines, because it's not the same way that I was used to. So what I want to do is I want you to first get the idea that as you select each one of these items, so we're at home right now, as you select each one, you go into insert, you'll notice that this ribbon changes right here. So we'll go back over, you'll see that this ribbon changes. And again, anything that's grayed out is something we can't perform either because we haven't created something or we haven't selected something. Now what I would like to do is just go ahead and do something very, very simple like select the text. So when I select this, you'll see a little border that appears around here. And this is, again, going back to that concept of you having this great big poster board and you're moving stuff around. This is kind of like having a little text box. You'll also notice that when I did this, if I click off of it and I click back on again, you don't see anything up right here, but as soon as I do click on it, you're going to see this thing shows up. And this is just something, because some people will go, well, why is this on some of them and not on others? It's because you're selecting something. So I'm talking about the orangey color drawing tools and the purplish text box tool. Again, if I click off of it, you see it goes away. If I click up here, you'll see that I have the drawing tools, and we use the concept drawing tools because this is like a square box. So just so you kind of get the idea of why is it doing what it's doing. And a lot of this has to do with experimenting back and forth to just sort of figure it out. But I want to go in here and I'll go in here and select the text, and I can change this to anything that I want. So for example, I could go in here and just say, for example, I was working for a company like Century 21, so I could just go CENTURY 21. And then if I wanted to, notice when I type a text, I could also go in here and just select this. Then I could go up here and I could change the size to a larger size. Now notice as I move my mouse pointer up and down that the font automatically changes, so it's not like I have to commit myself. It's kind of like all I'm doing is sort of shopping around and finding out what will work best for me. So if I go way up, you'll see the text gets extremely large. If I go down here, you'll see it'll get smaller. The same thing with the type of font that I want. If I'm going in here, you can see here in the background it's going to change, but as I go down here, you're going to see that the actual font changes in its type as I go up and down. And I'll just go ahead and click off of that, and I haven't really changed anything. It's still the same kind of a font. A couple things with font. If I wanted to go ahead and make this bolded, I could. If I click it again, it's off. I can make it italicized. I can make it underlined. And so there's a lot of different options you can play with here. I can also determine, so this is choosing the type of font. Over here I'm choosing whether I want it left justified, center, right justified, full justified. So in my case I'm just choosing center. So there are a lot of things that you can do, if you will, with font right here. The next thing is insert. So under insert, you'll notice the whole menu system has changed. This is where if I wanted to, for example, insert a photograph. So in my particular case, if I wanted to insert it, and again I'm going to click off of this, so you'll see these boxes disappear. And if I wanted to put my photograph right here, all I really have to do is pick the picture, navigate to where I have the picture located, which I have it in Dropbox, scroll down, find it, just click in here and just say insert. And there's my picture. It's going to come in at the size that it was, and I'm just going to hold the shift key down with my left hand and pull, so it keeps the size, the relative size, the same. Okay, so you'll notice that both axes are changing at the same time. Then I can kind of let it go. I can go up here and put my picture in where I think it would work. Again, go back in here again. So to change this around, there's my photograph in here, and we'll come back and edit that in a minute. Next thing that I can do, so another thing too, is notice that when I click on it, all of a sudden everything comes to life. When I click off of it, it kind of goes away. Next thing I want to point out is page design. Now on page design, again, we start to see this thing come up here where we have colors that we can choose. So if I go and drop this down, like if I drop this little thing down right here, you'll see all the colors. And again, as I move over the top of the colors, you'll see that the background changes. So I'm essentially just going in here and choosing something that I want. So if I wanted that color, I click on it and my change is made. If I want to go back up here, or I'm sorry, go right here, change it to something else, which is here we have Apex as a color that we can choose. In other words, I just want you to get the idea that you can move around and change things. And that's what we call, commonly referred to as a color theme or scheme. You can actually then go in if you wanted to and change the individual colors if you wanted to in the background. Next thing, well, we're not going to talk about mailings because this has to do if you're going to take this and mail it out and mail merge. For example, if I had a list of contacts that I had in my database, in other words, people's last name, first name, whatever, I could actually mail merge means where I can take that list of people and put it together in anything from a letter or a business card or a flyer or whatever, so it looks really sort of customized when I send that out to everybody. So in other words, the salutation or the opening might be something like Dear Joe, and it would put the Joe up out of the database. So that's on another subject, but I just wanted you to know what that meant. Here we have review, and again we can do things such as spell check, and they're giving me some recommendations on what I need to do, and I can just go ahead and ignore it. And if I've done with it, it says, are you done? You say yes, okay, and I'm back. So I can change that. And then finally, view. What I want to do here with view is I want to show you that you're going to be changing the colors, or I'm sorry, what things look like right here. And the reason why I'm doing this is you may not necessarily want to change this, but you may wonder how did it get to look the way it is. So for example, if I wanted to if I click boundaries here, you'll see that there's a little box put around all of the stuff to show me where the boundary areas, in other words, where things end. Okay, if I want that off, I just click it for off and it's gone. I can click on fields. You see where it's highlighting the fields of text. Again, if I want the rulers that are here turned off, I just click here. If I want to turn back on again, I can do that. Another thing I want to move over here for a minute is that you'll notice that this is, if the picture is at 100%, this is to fit the whole page. Currently, right now, it's considering this as being 250% as being the whole page. One other thing I want to point out to you in all these applications, also down the bottom, you'll see this little 250%. This little slider allows me to take and make the picture as big or as small as I want. And sometimes people will go, well, why in the world would I ever want to do that? It's because you're working on something and you really maybe need to get in and get real detailed on a certain area and take a look at it. And then when you're done with it, you may want to zoom back out again. So that's the concept behind this. You're not actually changing anything. You are just, and by the way, I can put in here if I have a certain size I want, like 250, I can do that and then press enter and it's back to where it was. And again, I can move this around here so it fits like this. So this kind of gives you an idea of how things work. And one other thing I want to point out is this bar that's on the left-hand side. Some people will say, well, why was this here and now it's gone? It has to do with what we call the page navigation. So if I click off of this, it goes away. If I click on it again, it appears. Click off, goes away, click on, appears. Now the reason for this is that if you had a document with multiple pages, you would be able to switch back and forth between them. And that's how this concept works, if you will. And we'll move on to continue on with our editing of the photograph here in the next video tutorial, if you will.